I would like to call the June 8th, 2021 Greater Clark County School Board of Trustees meeting to order. Ms. Markowski, if you would please note that all school board members are present and accounted for. And if you all would be so kind as to stand up with me and say the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Dr. Burns.
Yes, good evening, board. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a very special night as we recognize some folks in our organization who have been invaluable to our work for the community for many years. So tonight, the Board of School Trustees and Administration would like to recognize and salute our 2021 school year retirees. We are very thankful for your dedication to the district and to all of our students. Please come forward when your name is read. I will read all of our names. Not everyone was able to join us tonight, but if you would please come forward. Hilda Kendrick, teacher at Utica. Sally Staples, teacher, Bridgepoint Elementary.
We're going to get a group picture.
Oh, okay. Joe Noltemeyer, teacher at Riverside. Kim Metter, teacher at Parkview Middle School. Woo! Mark Riley, teacher at Jeffersonville High School. And Julie Strait, teacher administration. Our classified staff, John Brown, maintenance. William Crank, maintenance. Gary Hodge, maintenance. Kelly Harbin, maintenance. James Dodds, maintenance. Robert Baker, maintenance. Lawrence Nybaum, maintenance. Donald Butch Sweeney, maintenance. Robert Nelson, custodian. Tom Spellman, maintenance. John Rory, custodian. Tim Epperson, maintenance. Allison Bell, a paraprofessional. Tom Cunningham, custodian. Lisa McGill, custodian. Joyce Griffith, custodian. Kathy Holloway, administrative assistant. Robbie Thierman, custodian. Patrick McKinley, custodian. Sharon Martin, custodian. Phyllis Lewis, custodian. Rick Mayfield, custodian. Donnie Carroll, custodian. Carrie Morrell, custodian. Francis Swettenham, custodian. Betty Purley, custodian. Benny Reynolds, maintenance. Linda Duncan, custodian at North Haven. Robin Bryant, custodian at Bridgepoint. Sharon Green, custodian Riverside. Kathy Lynch, supervisor auxiliary services. Angela Briles, custodian Parkview Middle School. And Mark Ryder, custodian Charlestown Middle School.
We're going to get a picture here.
Are you ready? All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
I didn't get my 15-year mug either. Yeah.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all our retirees for the service they've given to our students, our schools here in Greater Clark. I've worked with a couple of you that are in the room and enjoyed every minute of it, and really appreciate coming tonight and also what you've done for our corporation. Hope you enjoy the free time that you get in retirement. So, thank you.
Now, I'm not saying that this isn't going to be exciting, and you're not going to be on the edge of your chair, but please feel free to take off. Have a great summer, and thank you so much for your service. All right, the next item we have to look at here would be the approval of the agenda. Board, do I have a motion? Thank you, Coach. Do I have a second? Thank you, Paul. Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next would be the approval of minutes from the previous meeting. I move that we approve these as submitted.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Are there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I don't believe we have any public comments. So I believe we are at the perfections update. Mr. Ross?
The board, as perfections comes up, they've done a pretty thorough analysis of, our buildings in the district. So I want to give you a brief update of, what they've found to this point. And it goes right along with, the facility study that was done. It's another, set of information that we can use and learn from in terms of how we proceed forward as a district. It's all yours, Matt.
All right, great. Good evening, I'm Tony Afro. Katie, this is a PowerPoint, but I guarantee it's only 11 pages long, and we just covered 2 of them, so. So we're down to 9. I'll never forget when back in the mid-90s, PowerPoint came out in 1987. I was doing some MBA work at the University of Southern California, and a professor got up one day and he goes, "You're looking for my PowerPoint?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Everybody stand up." Everybody stood up, and there was 25 people in the room. He said, "Now point to the people around you." He goes, "That's my PowerPoint." And so I took a lesson from that, is to be as brief as possible. So the first thing, we are on track. We are on track. And that's really reassuring from our end through this whole process. And got a lot of people to thank, and mostly the staff that we had to work with over the last couple of months. Has been wonderful getting to know everybody and working with them hand in hand. The second thing I want to hit real quick is when we first start doing the staff meetings. Oh, did I do this for a minute?
No, I don't, but you don't have to do it. You don't. You have to do that one.
All right, thank you. When we started the staff meetings back in April, we figured what's our message going to be, and what message can we make us to be consistent with everybody. So using the power of alliteration, I thought every word that began with C would be good, and it really holds true. Our overall goals, if you want to keep them straight, are really this: we want clean facilities, we want comfortable learning environment for everybody. We want to be consistent in everything we perform. We don't want to have any ups and downs, and we want to be consistent. Most importantly to me is we want to continuously improve. And we don't want to stay stagnant. We want to improve and keep doing better and better. And of course, I think what's near and dear to us and what perfection really brings to the table is the cost savings measure. So if you remember those 5 things on the C side, I think that's primarily the most important thing that we decided to do. Now, can't see it, but it's in your PowerPoint presentation. But this here is us. I used to say in my old training days that if you get an org chart done, that's only good for that day. But that's not true here, because we spent tons of time getting this ready. And I'm going to let Chris talk about everything below those boxes at the top, because really those aren't important. It's the ones at the bottom that are important. The top is really about us, our ownership group, our board of advisors, and then the 2 main divisions of perfection represents in this, our service division and our green buildings division, like Mark said, the ability to come up with a 5-year design plan on your HVAC and roofs. That's something that is unique to our industry. So with that being said, you can see all the lines where they go and so forth like that. But from an ownership group and from perfection's perspective, that's me. I'm going to make sure that this gentleman right here has all the tools that he has in his bag to be able to do the things he does. And we have the utmost confidence that Chris is going to be the go-to person for this entire relationship for the next several years. And with that being said, you know, Chris is going to be the guy. He lives right here in the district. We've been able to filter people locally into our organization, but that's us. There's no corporate in Chicago. There's no stockholders we have to be beholden to anywhere else. That's it. That's us right there. And so I just want to make sure that Chris's role is very understood, that he is the day-to-day go-to person here, and I will support him in getting those things done and help him along the way. If you don't see him in the district 4 days, maybe out of the next 6 months, I am requiring him to go to some leadership training I'm putting on, so he'll be gone for 4 days sometimes in the next 6 months, because we want to continue to build upon his leadership skills and strengths so that he can share those with people in the organization. Does that make sense? Any questions? If not, I'm going to turn this over to Chris and let him talk about the rest. If you have any questions at the end, I'll be here.
Thank you, Tony. And, you know, as far as the bottom of the staff, one, I want to say thank you for letting us come in. The main purpose today is just to update you on what all we have done up until this point, because many of you don't know the contract starts July 1. But, you know, through our partnership and through our relationship that we've had, we've been able to really become true members and partners with Greater Clark and, you know, help fill in some of the gaps that we have that we've come across, and been able to really get things done for you all and keep everything online for the end of school, for the graduations, and now going into summer. And those are some of the things that we talk about. But there's, you know, the 3 different groups, so it's not just me. I'm just going to own more so this relationship with you all. I'll be presenting to the board. I'll be, you know, in the admin councils, the cabinet meetings, and things like that. But, you know, we have a group of other people. We have SMS that's going to be running our custodial side. Lawn Pro will be running our lawn maintenance side. And I wanted to introduce, so we've actually, I think a lot of y'all have met Kevin. Kevin was the one of the original vice presidents for SMS, but we've also now actually hired our general manager for SMS. So he is the top guy and will be here in the district as well. He's from the area, from over in Kentucky. He's several different, he was at the University of Louisville, at the Speed Museums, been at, most recently, the Lynn Family Stadium running facilities. What, 20 years, I think, is that?
22.
22, yeah. Give him credit for everyone, it's hard work. But yeah, so this is Chris Robinson. You're going to see him around. I wanted him here tonight just so to introduce him. But yeah, he's going to be running that show. So him and Meg, who a lot of y'all have met, will also be reporting up to me. They're going to own the relationships with the principals. So we have everything covered as far as from the bottom all the way down to the, you know, the teachers and meeting with our staff all the way up to, you know, the meetings with you all. We don't want to miss any communication, because that's the biggest thing in this that we feel is important in this district, communication across all lines. But if we, let's see, there we go. So these are the things that we've done since we have initially started. I'm going to go through these quick anyhow. Through the complete evaluation fix-ups needed. We did a complete facility study. Our technicians went out into the field, went to every single building, spent time on all of the equipment, and since then we've been approved for $600,000 worth of fix-ups on the mechanical and facilities, and we have over $100,000 worth of fix-ups on water and water treatment, water improvements. Because there were a lot of issues that we had found within the water systems that we have to get cleaned up in order for the efficiency and the equipment to run better. Now that $600,000 in fix-ups, to let you all know, is more so the 90% of it is needs. Things that we need to get before school starts for the buildings to run. Broken belts, broken motors, you know, those type of things. Not just, hey, it would be nice to have a new system out here. Those things we're working on, but this first step is going to be the things that we need to get the schools up and running before school starts. And then, you know, we provided a budget for media emergency needs. So, you know, Laura has that. We've been working together on those items that I was just talking about. We attend all the task force meetings, staff principals, cabinet meetings. So we are in every one of those meetings. So we are getting a good pulse on what is going on in the schools. We've scheduled a regular meeting. Me, myself, Laura, Chad, and Mark, we meet on a weekly basis on how we can improve and keep improving the facilities. prepared multiple budget analysis for the capital needs. We do have a priority list to assist the superintendent and to help to plan for the CARES meeting and to plan for the task force. So we're meeting actually tomorrow on that to go through a priority list to say, outside of those things we need, here is where the CARES Act money can be spent best and first, and then go down the line for over a 5 to 10 year plan. I wanted to go back as far as onboarding of the former GCCS employees. We now have 26 people that have came over and applied and in the process and are all in the midst of getting assigned to their spots. Some of them are switching schools, some of them are switching shifts. We're listening to what they want, and that is through Mark and Chris, and they're handling that in his team. And there's about, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 more that we're still waiting on applications and everything from. So we're gonna have about 30, maybe even a few more, 35, 40, that will end up actually coming over as part of the team. And then on top of that, we have 16 right now.
It's up to 19 now.
19 new people in the district that we've already brought on. Several supervisors that are gonna be in each school and everything. So we're meeting that, we're ready to take over. One of the things that came up is ATS at Jeff I, their contract is actually over on the 16th, not the 30th. So we've had to step up that, and we'll have Jeff I fully staffed by then with a full staff of SMS and perfection employees. Then we attended the grant meetings and worked directly with the grant team. So there are some grants that we're looking at to get those long-term goals, installed. Critical repairs and HVAC upgrades, we talked about that. I'll try to get through these. Provided HVAC cleaning and lawn services. That is one of the things that we've done as far as where we've stepped up before the July 1 and wanted to make you all aware of it. So we have, starting in April, when this was first kind of went over and approved, from that point, as you understand, there's been a lot of people leave and a lot of, up to, I think, an average of about a 30% calling in the schools of the people that were left. So we've had to help, overcome those and just, help you all out. And that's, the partnership that we have been able to work with you all on and work with SMS to just fill those gaps as quickly as possible. And we've done so successfully, so far. And, we continue to keep doing that on pace. We haven't missed a deadline yet. So throwing that out there, not going to look, we haven't missed a deadline yet. And the last one is complete inventory and schedule repairs and continue hiring. Those are the things that, we're going over. We're actually meeting next Monday to go over buying of vehicles, buying of equipment, supplies, anything that we can use that's currently your all's, that we can buy from you all to give money back to the district, and even assist you all in possibly, helping offload or sell some of the items that maybe we don't use or don't need, so we can get more money back into the district. Is there any questions on any of the stuff that we, that went over? Okay. Next is, the information plan and update. Adherence to the timeline and planning, like I said, we are on track, with the planning, with the people, meet and communicate, support the leadership team. We meet consistently. Okay, thank you. Thanks for complete comprehensive facility and assessment. That is our engineering team that we have. They have done a complete long-term, like I said, 5 to 10 year out plan to look at how we can, there's over $35 million worth of updates that we've seen from the Lancer BB study, from our study, and we're looking at how to prioritize those and put those into action. Train, support, and upgrade associate goals and objectives. Those we're working daily on those. We have top-notch training. That's one of the things that we really are putting a focus on is training. Optimize school appearance. I missed one. Optimize the HVAC, VAS, and summer efficiency in new school year. I do want to let you know that we are, and we have already met with Train. Train has worked with us to make a smooth transition. We're actually working on getting into an open source platform, so we're not held to a platform where they have to be used. So we can actually, I think we're going to be able to do that and transition out of that. So we're in the middle of that right now. Thursday, we're going out to lunch with Chris Rosio to get a transition to make sure the fields and everything that they want and that they have been doing is go over efficiently. And advanced design immediate building needs. I think, yeah, that was, we've already talked about that, and then continue to plan. So I know that went a little bit longer, but I think it's important. It's the first time I've had a chance to really talk to you about what we've done between April and now, because, you know, where we've been planning for that July 1, you know, we have our technicians on the street now, going to schools, already fixing equipment, already doing PMs. Cody and the team are out there changing filters in all of the schools. You know, we have the SMS team already cleaning the buildings. We have the lawn pro already taking care of 5 buildings on the maintenance, on the grass cutting. So we have, you know, really that contract, we pushed it up about 2 months. Oh, yes, and then pool certification. So now we have also, we will have a pool, at the 3 pools, we'll have a certified pool operator in each building. They have actually, 2 of them have actually already taken the class, and then there's another class on the 24. So each building will have a certified pool operator. Perfection will have a certified pool operator for backup, and SMS will, Greater Clark will actually have a certified pool operator as backup. So issues with pools will be, you know, minimized. We're going to do a full training. Spirit Corporation's coming in to help us with that. Any questions there? Apologize for going so long. And then lastly is just wanted to let you know on the process update. This is something that we've had to do, so if you all see or hear, if there are any questions, we've had to put a whole new process into place because our work order system isn't available until July 1. So we've created you know, as of actually Monday, to let you all know, school due is no longer being used in the facility or in the district. So we've gotten rid of school due for any work orders. So it's been a big change. We've rolled that out in the admin council, and we're using a email system now and a tracking system, and it's worked this week. It's only, you know, 2 days in, but it's been working great so far. Everybody's been very you know, on board with it, and it's, you know, send one email for everything, and then we'll take care of it on the back end. But school duty is no longer in the school district. And progress reports, you know, we will actually, you know, continue to present as needed. And then as far as the flow chart and commitment, that along with training of the new system and everything that we're going to be rolling out to the principals, July 15th. I think that's the July 15th board meeting. Is that the operations meeting? July 13th, thank you. That is when we're going to do a full training to everybody on how to use the systems, how to use the work orders, and everything. So we've already rolled out some of those dates. And, you know, next slide we've kind of already went over. I'm not going to, you know, we've talked about HVAC, we've talked about Lawn Pro, we've talked about SMS. You know, we're working on syncing all of our calendars. We've worked with Melissa and Karen on getting, you know, maybe an event link for everybody. Right now, all the schools use different calendars as far as the events in the schools. So we're looking at trying to get everything onto one calendar. We're looking at one actually communication tool. So we're trying to get everything on one platform so everybody in the communication process is easy. And then foundation support and planning. We are working with the foundation as well. We are, just to let you all know, we're working on actually putting together a golf scramble with the foundation. So this year, where there was one, you know, I don't think we were having one this year. We're going to look at trying to put one on in accordance with the foundation, a pretty big one. That's going to be, you know, you'll be excited. It'll be nice. We have Meg, who you all met. That's what she did in a former lifetime. So she's very good at putting together golf outings. Any questions?
Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, of our people that left that couldn't retire, any general ideas as to why they left, that they didn't want to make that transition? I'm just kind of curious.
There was, and I know Kevin can speak to that a little bit in regards to that too. We have, out of everybody that has applied, out of the 26 that has applied, we haven't turned down. I think we've had an opportunity for each one. Am I correct?
Yeah, we had given instructions to everybody to apply at our portal, and so not everybody did that. Of course, some people was hired, but the majority that did come through and apply with us, so we called them in, we met with them, and most of those are coming over in that group that Chris was describing, the 26. And there's still a handful out there that are I guess, thinking about it or whatever. And then others that we've called back, they said, oh, I got another job, or I decided to, you know, stay at home, or whatever the case is. So kind of mixed reasons for not coming.
Yeah, so no one that met with you just said, hey, look, it's not gonna work, or that's not what we thought, or not what we were promised, that's where I'm going.
Most everybody we've met with is coming over. The majority are coming over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if we've had an opportunity to talk to them, there were, you know, now there's been plenty of people that were said, here's what I thought, and then by the time we talked to them, like, oh, okay, well, a lot of cases even better. You know, because, but as far as, you know, there's still a handful of people out there that, and there's some people that we've talked to and that never applied. You know, so it's a very big number.
Yeah, I just want to be noted that they did have the opportunity.
Yes.
And nobody was, you know, they got what we told them they were gonna get.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And just to add, most of them are staying at the same school, the same shift,
Right.
same pay in most cases. So and most of them are just happy to be able to stay where they're at, where they're happy, and come over with us.
Sure, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you, John. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all again, I appreciate it, we'll continue as we get through this. We've already started those, you know, that 600,000 fix up, so we'll get you another update as we progress on those. Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Next item will be CARES Act 2 and 3 update from Dr. Ken Parks.
All right, we're going to take a little stroll down the CARES Act. So the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. Okay, well, sorry, that's okay. She left you in charge. Okay. These are federal grants, so we are required to abide by all regulations from the United States Education Department and their grant administrative regulations. As part of that for ESSER 3, it is, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, we do have to share it with constituents of all levels in the community. And so I'll share the various ways in which we're doing that, but presenting it at a board meeting is one of those options because a lot of this paperwork has to be submitted as evidence that it's part of the assurances plan. So the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act was provided as economic stimulus to individuals, businesses, and schools. And for schools, there's actually 2 funding streams that we have benefited from. The Governor's Emergency Relief Fund, which we partnered with the community and actually Northern Floyd County schools. We received a total of $136,880. And also, the largest portion of this is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, which is actually abbreviated to ESSER, which I'll be referring to it as. So in ESSER 1, we actually received information last April upon our shutdown, and it was an allocation of $1,669,579.37 to help us support virtual needs, technology needs, with the intent to bring our students back as soon as possible. And so, as you can imagine, our team went to work. We came up with a plan, and we were very proud that we were the first school district in Indiana to return at our original start date. In ESSER 2, that came along later in the fall with allocations of $6,687,000, 68 and 90 cents. And we have been busy. We've done a lot of work with that, and I'll get into specifics shortly. And then our most recent allocation, which we just received, is a total of $15,018,206.85. In ESSER 1, we were required to do that equitable share with our non-pubs. By the time ESSER 2 and 3 came around, the state guidance was that non-pubs have to do a whole separate application, so I do not have to serve as their LEA for those monies, which was good news. So in CARES 1, and a lot of this, again, it's a review, but I just wanted you to see sort of our thought processes as an executive team as we ventured along starting last April. Immediately, we knew that we were going to need some additional hotspots. Google Enterprise is an additional component to support security as well as functionality measures of Google. And then we knew that we had some ELA textbooks that were out of date, so that meant that we did not have, we extended the adoption and we didn't have the virtual resources. So that was a problem for us when we had 30% of our students on a virtual platform. We did start our virtual academy, and we hired, as part of that funding, we hired our coordinator, an additional technician to help support the additional devices. We purchased Chromebooks for grade 1 as well as the carts to charge them. And of course, when we first got into this, we had just an enormous amount of masks and thermometers and hand sanitizers and the sprayers and the tablets that go into the sprayers. And then we did allocate a portion for learning loss. We still have some of this left that we are continuing to spend on stipends. We've got some summer school programs that were presented to you, as well as some additional programs that we have running in our highest poverty schools that will continue to utilize that money. We didn't jump into that because we're just now getting preliminary data on iLearn. So we haven't determined exactly what type of support that needs to look like. So we have until September 2023 to liquidate these funds. In ESSER 2, the GEAR grant, we received this in the fall, and we submitted this with New Floyd County and Indiana University Southeast. That was part of the requirement. We were able to secure an additional $136,880 to purchase even more Khajiit hotspots. They have an expiration date, so we sort of purchased those in clumps according to our needs, because we didn't want to purchase them all and then in a year that they expire. Also, the Meraki Wi-Fi access points and antennas that we have put on 8 school locations that helped to extend that Wi-Fi access out into the community. ESSER 2 was a much larger allocation of $6 million plus, and we worked very strategically after we learned of our financial situation and the cost reduction plan. We really wanted to look at this holistically, both instructionally, academically, and operationally, how it could best benefit the district. We have, as you know, we've been a one-to-one district for quite a long time. We have a lease payment that is going to be coming up in July of 2022. We know that our math books were expiring. We are up for adoption next year. But we would not receive our workbooks for this year or any of the online resources, so we used $125,000 to purchase those to get us through one more year until we adopt K through 12 in the fall of 2022. During the time when we shut down, one of the requirements to be eligible is that you continue to employ all people in your district and to continue the programming that existed. So obviously when we saw our enrollment, we knew that only 60% or 70% of our students came back in person. We could have done some reduction in our staff, but we did not choose to do that. We felt very strongly that we needed to continue on, and so we were able to recoup some wages from a couple different employee groups. This spring, you approved the adoption of new textbooks for secondary ELA, social studies 6 through 12, and world languages, which that's over $1 million. The new math adoption will be in 2022, but it's actually 23. And that will be a $1.2 million expense when it's time to do that. Recently, we awarded all of our employees with a stipend to show our appreciation for their additional duties and responsibilities that were required of pretty much all folks across the district to make a safe environment for students to return to school. We had $253,000 in HVAC system repairs, recuperation of more wages from our bus drivers. We were able to do a renewal on our Edmentum Plato courseware. That is the program we use for our virtual academy with our high school students. Edmentum and Exact Path, we purchased this program. It allowed us to provide an intervention and enrichment program for our students, both in person and those who were online. As you know, we had many special education ELL students, but we were required to continue their services. And a lot of that was remediation, and this allowed us to be able to do that while we had a great deal of students virtually. Again, we were able to grab another year of Google Enterprise. We plan to purchase Chromebooks for our kindergartners, so now we have them for all, we'll have them for all grade levels. And then we continued the salary and benefits for our technician and virtual academy coordinator. Then another big surprise came along, ESSER 3, in a large amount, over $15 million. And they came across with a few more restrictions and requirements. 20% of this allocation must be used to support learning loss. For us, that's over $3 million that we have to use to help narrow that achievement gap for our students. It also requires regular updates on the return to in-person instruction. This is throughout the life of the grant. All of this money does have to be liquidated by September of 2024. So throughout the grant, every 6 months, we need to make sure that we are updating this. It has to be publicly available on our website to our community. And then finally, it requires that all constituents have an opportunity to provide feedback to the plan. We have already shared this plan with GCEA. A community task force has been established for the purpose of helping to prioritize our facility needs along with our partnership with Perfection Group on all of our HVAC upgrades, as well as this presentation. Whenever we submit a grant like this, it is fluid because we'll continue to reevaluate where our needs. Anything that is changed would have to go through the amendment process. It has to be approved by the state DOE. So while this is sort of our plan, as we move along, as you can imagine, there could be some things that change for us. Okay, Brennan. All right, so our thought process in reviewing the facilities assessment and the facility study, we know that we have a great deal of HVAC upgrades that need to be done to improve air filtration. That is certainly a huge recommendation of this money from the state and federal government. So we have earmarked $8 million for this purpose. So we'll be working closely with Perfection Group in the management and execution of this grant. We have to follow all the federal procurement guidelines. We also know that in order to continue to maintain our valuable employees, we have to earmark some money for our employee compensation because as Mr. Loeffler and I have attended superintendent's conferences, it's been made very clear. You know, we all want to say when we get back to normal, but the reality is this is our new normal and it will never be exactly the way it was prior to the pandemic. We've seen some changes that are positive. We know that we're probably always going to have a virtual platform that is enticing to students, K through 12. So we have earmarked some money to use for that purpose to support our employees because, the more turnover we have, that creates weaknesses. So we want to devote money for that. We also know that we get a great deal of CTE funding. It's accrued through each course that we offer. We complete a form called a 30A twice each year. And so we need to make sure we offer opportunities to our staff to get the credentials required to teach dual credit courses, because that helps support our students and also helps us financially in the district. So we want to help, keep a solid pipeline and always have people ready. It's additional hours or a master's in a specific content area. So we want to be able to support their efforts in getting those credentials. Again, we'll continue the technician and the coordinator that we hired. Their salary will continue through this grant funding. As we continue to monitor our virtual academy programming, and we may decide that we want to create our own curriculum in-house. If that appears that it's going to continue to be a very popular choice. So we've earmarked some money to be able to develop that, because that takes a lot of time and effort on a variety of individuals, so we can hit all content areas. Virtual academy staffing or programming, as we continue to monitor, our last day to register for that will be this week, and so that may need some additional support. Our band directors have expressed a need as we continue to support and want to support equity and opportunities for our students. They need some instruments available to make sure that every person that wants to participate in band has that opportunity. So we want to earmark a portion for that, as well as our STEM programming and leadership teams. We want to continue to be able to get STEM certified schools. We started with a pilot at Franklin Square in our elementaries, and we would like to see that in every district school. Technology program support, we know with all these devices, now that we have them K through 12, that there's going to be continuous needs, so we've marked a portion for that. And then finally, in this particular grant, we're able to recoup expenses to continue programming in our food service and instruction due to COVID-19 and the implications of that. So we have $1 million for that purpose. Okay, you can go on. Okay. The 20% learning loss within the grant application, that's a whole separate item. So our plan for that, as you know, a few years ago, the state came out with some new mandates or requirements on dyslexia screening and intervention support for those students. So once you screen students and you identify needs, it's specifically we are required to do it K through 2, but anyone who's not working on grade level above that could also be screened. And then we have to have some pretty good programming to be able to meet those deficits within their learning. So one of the programs that's highly sought after, and to be honest with you, most educators have not been trained in this specific of reading support. Orton-Gillingham is one of the programs that is very costly, and so this is something that, in working with our district coaches, we wanted to expand. So we have earmarked some money for both Orton-Gillingham training and stipends to pay those teachers beginning this fall and also next June in both literacy and math. Also, we worked with our executive team, we looked at our data, and we are going to be adding 12 instructional coaches to help offset the learning gap that we know that we're going to see when our students return. 10 of those will be, there will be one at every single elementary building, and then there will be one at CMS, because they currently do not have what the other middle schools have, and also New Washington Middle High. So our structure of that, based upon what we currently have, our elementary buildings and our middle schools have an academic improvement coordinator. They will now have one person devoted to literacy and one specific to math. In the past, we've kind of struggled to balance between the two, and those folks will be helping to support students in intervention, but also our teachers with coaching. And our hope is, while we've had some coaching, but we haven't had a formal coaching model that we have adopted and really provided professional development because there is an art to it. So we hope to earmark a chunk of money for that coaching and professional development. Also, if you'll recall, as part of our cost reduction plan back in December, we had cut 4 paras out of our staffing. And as we really dug into this and thought about each year, we have about 800 students come in each grade level. And we know that we were able to support about 220 in our preschool programming, but we have over 600 kids who, depending upon what their situation was, may or may not have any early childhood learning whatsoever. On top, you couple that on top of the pandemic, and even if they were in a program, it was probably hit and miss due to quarantines and so forth. So we really felt very strongly that when these kiddos come in, we really needed to put more hands in those classrooms of 5-year-olds who may have not had any type of educational environment at all. So that is our plan for the learning loss portion of ESSER 3. And again, ESSER 1 and 2 have to be liquidated by September of 23. And every expenditure requires reporting, it requires certain processes that we have to manage. I meet monthly with our business office to make sure that we're spending appropriately, because we certainly don't want to, if you don't stay on top of that, all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of money, and we want to make sure we are very well thought out in what we want to do with this to be most beneficial to the district. But overall, it's a total of $23,522,735.10. So, keeps me busy.
Your Honor.
Any questions?
I have a question about the dual credit credentials. Does that mean we're going to pay their tuition?
Yes.
Especially to make sure we keep the, associate degree track and
Right.
transfer today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dual credit programs going into our high schools.
Sure.
And at any time, if we see, these are all guesstimates, what we think. I mean, as we know, we could have put it all in HVAC, but the requirements won't let us do that. So, at any time, if we see that there's more spending in one area or another, or all of a sudden there's another need, then that's where we can adjust how much we've allotted. It's really a big prediction of what we think. We may see, gosh, there's all of a sudden these opportunities, and we need to get several people, signed up in college coursework, so we are reaping that income.
Thank you.
And some of that money you see being reimbursed back into accounts, will either go back into the education fund or the operational fund. And the reason we can do that is because that 3 months when all this started, we were paying people to stay home. So we're reimbursing some of that money. The last piece, the $1 million on this ESSER 3, really deals with those. If you remember, each employee was allotted so many COVID days where they could stay home. Well, that came at a pretty costly price in terms of, I don't know if April remembers how much that cost, but it was
I believe it was $1.2 million, something like that. And because we felt
COVID
strongly, if we, for example, if we had a teacher who was quarantined and they had to stay at home, we still wanted the kids to come to school, and we had to get a sub, but yet we said it's much more beneficial for our kids to have their teacher that they have a connection with and knows the content. So we allowed them to work from home, but we also had to pay for a sub. So in order to continue that for our students, it created quite a cost to do that.
I like that we're adding back some pairs, it's good.
Mr. Hawkins?
On the lost learning. We talked about having 4 pairs back, like John just mentioned. And from my understanding, though, the funding for that is based on ESSER 3, right? Or
Yes.
ESSER 1 or 2, 3, somewhere in there.
ESSER 3.
Okay. When that money goes away, how are we going to maintain those pairs? Or do we need to maintain those pairs?
Well, again, if you recall, I said it's all fluid.
Right.
And I will tell you, we have para openings all the time. I I mean, currently, we have double digits that we haven't filled. So the specific pairs where we were going to pull them, that we felt like we could actually absorb them, were in our kindergartens in buildings that had at least 4 kindergarten classrooms. So we were gonna cut 4 classrooms down to 3. So they would all still have a little bit of help, but not really what they needed to get us by. Because our hope is that this cost reduction will put us in a better place so we can make sure we have everybody where we need them. So that's kind of the thought process behind that.
Mr. Roberts, you bring up a good point, more so with the 12 instructional coaches.
I was
You know,
going along that same path. I guess.
ESSER 3 will pay for those 12 for the next 2 years.
Okay.
You know, as we get closer to that, into that second year, we're gonna have to evaluate our budgets, we're gonna have to evaluate enrollment, and decide whether or not we keep those positions or we don't, you know, at that point. You know, that's something we're gonna have to pay very close attention to, budget-wise, on whether or not, after 2 years, we can afford those positions or not.
Yeah, I'm glad you looked at that, because at the 30,000-foot level, we were talking about trying to cut, we were cutting teachers, what we're cutting. And now we're trying to add them back in, but we've got the money to do it right now, but.
2 years we do.
2 years we do.
Yeah.
But like Indianapolis did, whenever they took out a bond to pay for increasing pay, eventually that money runs out, and I just want to make sure, I don't doubt that you guys are looking at it, but I just want to make sure that we're really looking at that very closely.
And we were very, very clear with our principals that this is, you know, almost a temporary position. And the whole reason for it is to get kids caught up. And we know that that's not gonna happen in 1 year. It's gonna be a 2 or 3 year process. So this grant money will get us through. I will continue to look at other grant opportunities. It could be at that point, if we are in a better place, that we can absorb some of that through other federal grant funding, or Title I, 2, or 4 would be options.
Another question, not with the learning, or the learning catch-up, but with some of the other money we were talking about, the folks from Perfection mentioned the $600,000 upfront. We're gonna need some money upfront to bring things up to where we can just operate what we're supposed to. And does that 600 fall back into that number? Will that be able to be taken out of that, or are we gonna need to look at more additional bonding, or how are we gonna handle that?
These were expenses that we anticipated, so regardless if we went to Perfection or we got CARES, these are things that we have to do, and we're gonna have to do no matter what, at
Right.
the cost. And it's district-wide, so it's not like one spot that we're investing in.
You've addressed that with current operational fund money.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, moving forward, you know, in our task force meetings, one of the things that have come up quite often in every group is our HVAC needs. That's why we wanted to spend $8 million of that $15 million on HVAC.
Okay.
Now, as Chris said, you know, our corporation, you know, conservative estimate probably needs $35 to $40 million worth of HVAC. We're not going to be able to do all that in 1 year. That's going to be over a 5-year facility plan. So I do feel like not only do we need to spend this $8 million in HVAC money from ESSER 3, but also probably bond, you know, for another $4 or $5 million in this next round of bonding, so we can try to start getting ahead of this issue that we have with HVAC throughout the district. So,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Will we look, I know at Jeffersonville, we had that thing where we had to flood our computer labs because of piping issues, and I don't doubt that's the only building we had piping issues in, because we knew we had some in Charlestown because of the pool and whatnot. Are we looking at that as well through the facility plan? Because I've not had a chance to go through that facility.
I can tell you that's one thing these gentlemen have looked at real closely, in terms of some of those things that need to be addressed in the future, that may be a hazard or maybe something like that.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you, Dr. Rogers, for that wonderful CARES Act update. Now the board is with unbridled enthusiasm, but I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the long consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, consent agenda is passed, and we're gonna move to this wonderful
Gifted
gift.
building. So BSN Sports gave to Washington High School, gifted them $5,500. I looked them up. They have an impressive website where you buy sporting equipment and things, but they also have a sideline store where our high schools, where you can go and buy like gear, 24-hour shop, and so definitely check that out, BSN Sports. You can Google that. Super excited. Anonymous gift for Pride for New Washington as well brings the total to $5,600. I move that we accept these gifts to buildings. And I second that.
Thank you both. Any comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we can move right along to action items, and this first item will be the resolution to close Gordon Porter School.
Good evening, Board. Back in January of this year, Superintendent Lochner presented a cost reduction plan to the board, which included the closing of Gordon Porter and moving that program to Jeffersonville High School. And then later on January 26th, the board approved that plan, and that would be effective July 1st of this year. Indiana code requires that we comply with specific requirements associated with closing the school. And we're asking today that the board authorize myself to notify the Department of Education and execute any and all documents that are required in order to officially close Gordon Porter School.
Board, do I have a motion for the approval of resolution to close Gordon Porter School?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution to close the Gordon Porter School.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any comments, discussion, concern?
I have a comment. We're just closing the building. We're not ending the program.
Now, the program is moved to Jeffersonville High School beginning this new school year, 21-22.
I don't want people to read into that the program is going away. It's not. It's just moving.
We did remove it, yep.
Okay.
One more question. I'm sorry,
I'm finished. Thank you.
So after we vote on this, it passes, how quickly is the state notified that we are closing the school?
Legally, we have 10 days, but I'll do it immediately so we can get that clock ticking.
That's all I'm saying, okay.
First thing tomorrow.
Sweet.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any other comments, concerns? All right, all those in favor of closing Gordon Porter School signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
That passes. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Dr. Hartwood.
Dr. Hartwood, thank you for the university agreement.
Yes, this is an agreement with St. Joseph's University so that we can have a partnership to provide practicum and field hours for students pursuing deaf and hard of hearing certifications. And this is an excellent opportunity for our schools to develop quality candidates in the field of deaf and hard of hearing programs.
Or do I have a motion to approve the agreement with St. Joe University?
I move that we approve the agreement with St. John's University.
Jason Sessions. A second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or concerns or comments? Wow. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Next item, action item would be the limited for consulting services.
Yes, Ms. DeFore has been with our district for many years. She's been a great resource for behavior intervention. And she is willing to, she's going to be retiring. She is going to come back and provide professional development and training that is required for our district staff in safe crisis practices. So she will be working with our staff in the Greater Clark Seclusion and Restraint Policy so that she can help to train the staff in safe practices and managing student crisis. She'll be paid at a rate of $40 per hour, and this will be paid out of the federal funding through special education.
Perfect. Or do I have a motion for limited divorce contract agreement?
Mr. President, I move we approve the agreement with Linda DeFore.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Hawkins.
Does any of this coordinate with our, with the officers that are in our schools? Is there any crossover between what they are taught or how they're trained?
There
How this
is-
works with this also?
I believe that they do have some communication about these safe practices, but every school has a team, and it is required that our staff is trained so that no student is injured if there becomes a difficult situation. But I know that our special education department has worked with our SROs in some of these practices. I'm not sure if they've all been trained, but I know that some of them have.
It would appear that probably our SROs are also, they don't understand the educational side perhaps like Mr. Ford does, but they also understand the physical side fairly well.
Yes, and so the intent of this would be, initially, you would want that school team to become involved, and if it escalates to a certain level, then perhaps the SROs would get involved, depending upon the details and circumstances of the situation.
Thank you.
I have a comment that being in both sides, like going through the safe crisis management as an educator is different because there are things that as an educator that we would not be allowed, to do in safe crisis management with students, but an officer of the law would, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the agreement with 1 minute and 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move right along. Perfect. I'd like to welcome the public comments. Are ready when you? Please state your name and address when you get up here. If you have any, take anything down. And you'll have a strong 3 minutes. Okay.
Hi, my name is Penny Dubuque. I actually live 1208 Flagstone Drive over here in Jeffersonville. I'm here this evening to talk about an opportunity to speak with you regarding a recent ruling that has been put out for the middle school kids could not be allowed to participate with high school kids in regards to the band and color guard. As a parent of a middle school student that is neither athletic nor musically inclined, it is important that we strive to help them find an activity that they can be involved in and feel as though they belong to a group. The sense of belonging is best encouraged and created in our middle school age kids. They are just branching out at this time to find themselves and to find their place in the world and find something that is their own. They have been restricted. If we restrict access for our groups, that could potentially allow them to fall through the cracks, and when they become in their high school years, then they can also come together and fall into peer pressure and possibly follow paths that our students too many times follow these days. One of the reasons that was given regarding the change was that the 6th and 7th grade students not hanging around with high school students. However, looking back, this is not a new occurrence with our schools. We've compiled a list of students in past several years that participated in 6th and 7th grade. This is the first section in your handout. Not only has this been evident within the band and guard program, but there are instances within the system, such as camps being held by high school groups that are not only include middle school, but also elementary school kids. Such as the basketball, soccer, tennis, and even cheer camps. Also at this time, there has been combining of the bus routes recently. Again, middle school and high school kids together. Some of those buses are lucky enough to have an assistant, but most of them are just one driver. This is less than the 4 chaperones per bus on band trips. which equals out to 1 chaperone per 10 students. Another reason was that some of the school officials were not aware of the involvement in the previous years from the younger grades. However, every year for competition, paperwork has to be filed within the state. This is the second and third areas in your handout, and signed by principals along with a list of participants. Last year, this list even included the girls with their grades listed by their names. According to the Indiana High School Color Guard Association Rule Book, which is the 4th section in your handout, it states that junior and senior high students are eligible for participation in competition. Okay.
You can finish your thought.
Okay, this is real short.
Sure, yeah.
This is an outlet for the middle school to show off their talents as well as participate with a group and learn team building skills, which, as we all know, are really helpful in today's society. I want to continue to say that in regards to the color guard, I did receive news this morning from the high school principal that she has decided to let the 6th and 7th grader students participate in the winter guard season, which is the color guard competition season. She, however, does stand firm on the fact that those kids cannot participate in the fall season regarding the band, so it should just be 8th graders and up. I feel that this is a great place for us to start in order to help out our children at this time. Thanks to the board members for listening to my points, and please keep these things in mind for any future issues that we might come up having on this participation. If we stand together as parents and educators and continue to discuss the events that are molding our children, we can accomplish tasks that encourage today's youth.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We have Stacy. Didn't want to butcher your last name, so.
Either. I know. My next life, I want to be on the spin.
And you can take your mask off and talk if you're more comfortable. It's up to you.
Okay, my name is Stacy Eisler. I live at 6038 21st Lucas Drive. So I'm just really here to support Penny. Pretty much knocked it out of the park, so I just have a couple of other things that I'd like to add to it. I did not bring a PowerPoint. I did bring a visual aid. So this is my husband. He has been part of, well, actually he went to Jeff High, he graduated 30 years ago. He's old. That's what he's told me. And these are my 2 daughters. They were part of Winter Guard and also part of the Guard. 2012 and 2013, so it's been a little while. They're both graduated from college or in college right now. So the reason why I wanted to come in today is I think I offer a little bit of a unique perspective. I've been a part of those groups for 12 plus years. I've been there longer than the president, or not the president, the principal, longer than the current band directors, and I've held lots of different positions. First, a volunteer. I had the 2 children in there. I was also the secretary for the boosters for a little while, and also supported my husband. He's been, in it for several years. Kind of the concern that I have is that there just seems to be a lot of confusion, and I think you've got a lot of new people in these roles. And my stepdaughter, the youngest, actually started Winter Guard in the 5th grade. Scott Cooksey, which a lot of you probably remember, he actually gave her letter, a varsity letter in 5th grade because it's a varsity sport. She also received another varsity letter several years later when she was on the Jeff High basketball team. So from my perspective and my vantage point, I haven't really seen any problems. I understand where the administration is coming from, the concern if you have, the commingling of the younger kids with the older kids. Those are things that they're seeing out in the world, or with older brothers and sisters, things of that nature. And I would just hate to see this opportunity being taken away from children where they really can be active and successful in life and really learn from their peers and from a really awesome group of coaches. So, that's really all I have to say today, is just really showing my support for the younger group that's coming up behind them, showing that it was helpful. They were very, very successful back in the day, and just asking for the inclusion for all of these kids who really want to join these activities.
so they can be a part of something that's really bigger and better than themselves, especially in the world that we're in right now, where everything is just been really helter-skelter for them, and give them something that I want to just really be a part of.
Thank you, Stacey, very much, we appreciate it. Let's see here, at this point, it would be time for board comments. Mr. Hawkins, do you have anything you'd like to share this evening?
I can't think of anything right now.
Ms. Hutchinson?
I feel like we're officially closed for the school year. You know, kids are out, teachers are out, administration's still working a couple days. So a huge thank you to everybody who made it possible. I am so proud of this district. I'm so glad we went, you know, e-learning when we did, so we had that practice and we had that support. And the cabinet, to Mr. Lochner, to the teachers and administrators, to this board for trusting them. I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Paul?
I'd just like to echo that with a plug for my youngest daughter who graduated this past weekend. So
Awesome.
many thanks to all the staff, faculty, superintendent, all that sort of thing for giving them the education and direction, and look forward to the end.
We'll get a second and third job for that college.
You sure know her.
Yeah. Hey, I wasn't sure who was always talking over there, so I figured I'll get you. Mr. Springer, what would you like to answer?
Let's say we just wrapped up all of our high school graduations in the district, and I was, delighted to be a part of it. It's the first time I went to a, graduation where I didn't have a relative who actually graduated. But a lot of, I guess I'm getting a little old because I had a few friends in the crowd, and it was their kids graduating, whereas mine were a little bit younger. So, but it was very cool to be a part of it. All three of our high schools, and congrats to those seniors. Your journey's just beginning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mrs. Pat?
No, I really enjoy the graduations, and to me, they speak of our three different communities that we have. They each have their own personal feel.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burton?
Just following along with that, the graduations were outstanding. I've been to quite a few, and the parents and everybody that came to support the graduates, their guardians, their grandparents, their friends, very respectful, no problems. And there was one problem. What was that?
We did not have cookies in New Washington.
That's right. Thank you for that.
Fresh baked.
Yeah, any kind of sale, there were no things. We have to zip around. One graduation is Friday night, and then Saturday we have to get two in. And one of our schools, Charlestown, actually has to feed us lunch because we don't have time. But it's always been a treat on Friday night that we have these homemade chocolate chip cookies and.
Again, or any chocolate chip.
Yes.
Store-bought would be fine.
So,
Just cookie.
you know, some of our schools got an A++ and one got an A.
I'll just stick up for Ginger.
Great
job.
She did. Also, there were no cookies.
Do I need to make a motion for some chips ahoy?
Yeah. I moved that we bring some chips ahoy for Katie. I want to say the same thing. I know you guys are sick of hearing it. Personally, I didn't want to go to my own graduation, to be honest with you. So, and I didn't do college. That was just a thing, and I missed it somehow. I thought it was on another day, but I got out of college on a thread. I had high school on a thread, but going to those graduations and sitting in on some of that, it was very emotional, and for those of you who don't know, and I don't mean to drag the room down, but Ginger had lost a student that day, and so New Washington community, please keep them in your prayers. And she started that service with some scripture, and then said, that all being said, we still need to celebrate these graduates, and they did just that. That's really a strong testament to that community. That was just huge. And again, the Jeff High and Charlestown were just great supportive parents, and And I was just, I loved being there, and I never would have thought I'd have said that. So, you know, I thought it was agony at the beginning, but at any rate, it wasn't at all. It was a great thing. So, Mr. Lawford?
Well, thank you. I also enjoyed graduations Friday and Saturday. I want to update the board real quick on our task force meetings. We've held 2 facility task force meetings. We have one more coming up Thursday evening from 5 to 8. Last night, we took a group of about 25 task force members to Clark Pleasant School System and looked at a new elementary that was built, just finished up there, called Ray Crow Elementary in Whiteland, Indiana. $27 million facility that'll hold about 900 students. It's really neat to go up there and look at a brand new elementary and see what can be done. After the task force meetings are over, there will be representatives from the task force that will present an executive summary to the board on July 13th. After the meeting on board meeting on July 13th, we'll have a work session where we will then develop the 5-year facility plan in terms of what do we want to do in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. I already told you about the extensive HVAC work that we have to do, and we're going to have to spread that out over a few years, several years, probably 4 or 5 years at least. And then what I want to do after we come up with that 5-year plan in mid-August, I believe it's August 17th, 18th, and 19th, I'm going to go out into each community and present the 5-year plan to our community. Also, before I do that, we're going to create 2 different videos that will go out the week before the 17th, 18th, and 19th of August. One video that we'll put out on social media and also email to our parents will explain the 5-year facility plan and what we want to do each year. The other video will explain the financial piece of it in terms of, you know, we strongly believe that we can do these projects over the next 5 years without a referendum and without raising anybody's taxes. You know, so we want to make sure we explain that to our community very well in terms of what we can do. You know, and you may ask, well, why? How can we do that? You know, we just tried to do a referendum 5 years ago and it failed miserably. Well, how can we now do this work all of a sudden and not raise anybody's taxes and not have to do a referendum? There's 2 reasons. Number one, our assessed value is going up in the district. It went up 8.1% last year. And the other reason is we have debt coming off. You know, in terms of our debt service fund, we have debt coming off the books. So we're in a window of time where we can get a lot of this work done without raising anybody's taxes and without doing a referendum. And I hope our community supports that. You know, but there will be a lot more information forthcoming over the next couple months. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawford. Mr. Markowski, you've got to say something kind. How about
Let me think.
Yeah. All right, board, I need a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, second. Ms. Perkins. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.